All right, it is Halloween, October 31st, Saturday. I've got my One Best Way shirt on. Thank you, Tony, for sending the package. There's gonna be one best way to make pasta, and that is what I'm gonna teach you tonight by Pete's Pasta. Also, quick shout out to the Boilermakers, got my hat on. They got their second win of the year this year, starting 2-0, first time in 10 years, so very excited about that. Also, I'm going to be drinking a little bit of red wine tonight while I make this. I got the special Chronic Cellars Purple Paradise, our 2018 red blend with a skeleton on it, repping Halloween. And tonight I'm going to be teaching you how to make homemade pasta with fresh ingredients that you can do at home with just a few, actually 4 ingredients, as well as either a KitchenAid attachment that you can use, or we're going to be using a hand cranked. It's called the Atlas 150. You can look it up online. $55 from Amazon. But I will tell you, the fresh pasta is 100 times better than the kind that you buy at the store. And I would say Pete's Pasta is even better than what you'll get at the restaurant. So coming at you is the recipe, and let's get down to it. So we got our ingredients laid out right in front of us here. Like I said, we're gonna need a total of 4 ingredients to make the actual spaghetti. Starting with our semolina flour. So we typically use the Red Mill brand semolina. It's kind of hard to find. You usually can't just get it at your traditional grocery store, especially with the pandemic going on. There's also Semola, which is very, very similar. We've used that in the past, but we really recommend the Red Mill semolina flour. You need 2.5 cups of that. 4 eggs. These are room temperature. They've been sitting out for about 30 minutes. Highly recommend, farm fresh eggs. These are pasture raised on over 8 acres. I'd say the more acreage, the better eggs you're gonna get. That's just a joke, I have no idea. Sea salt grinder. We like fine salt for the pasta. And extra virgin olive oil. I think we only need a teaspoon of that. Sorry, teaspoon of the salt, tablespoon of the extra virgin olive oil. And those are the ingredients for the pasta dough. Okay, so as I said, we're gonna be using the hand-cranked Atlas 150 to make our spaghetti tonight. The brand is Marcato. Like I said, you can get it for $55 on Amazon. Highly recommend it, the Atlas 150. It's got 4 different parts, super easy to assemble. This is the mount, which I will go ahead and mount. Highly recommend doing it on a granite surface or the hardest surface that you have, just for stability purposes, to make sure that it is locked and secure. So get it cranked up and tight, give it a little wiggle, it's not going anywhere. This is the spaghetti and linguine attachment. So this slides, as you can see, there's a little device here. It goes on the top right here, slides right down. Tonight, I think we're gonna be going with the linguine because I think it goes better with the vodka. Typically we use the spaghetti with more of a traditional red sauce, but we're gonna use the linguine portion tonight. Make sure that that's all set up. And then the last piece here is the handle. That goes in one of 3 holes, depending on whether or not you're flattening out the dough that you make, or you're putting it through either the spaghetti or linguine attachment, which I'll get to in a little while. Okay, I've got my flour down on my surface, my 2.5 cups, poured it out, made a little volcano in the top, and added 2 eggs. We usually only add 2 eggs in the beginning just to start working the dough. It takes a little while for the whole kneading process, usually about 10 to 15 minutes, so I'm not gonna capture all that, but I got my flour with 2 eggs, and here's a little preview of it. Okay, so I've kneaded that for a couple minutes, and as you can see, it's not quite coming together yet. And at home, when you're trying this the first time, that might be a little bit frustrating, but that's where the second 2 eggs come in handy. So from here, we'll add them one by one. So I'm gonna go ahead and crack this guy, put it right in the middle there. Mix up the yolk a little bit, and then we're gonna go ahead and start kneading this a little bit for a couple more minutes. Okay, I gave it a couple more minutes with the 3 eggs. Still not coming quite all the way together, so I'm gonna go ahead and add my 4th egg here. And when we add the 4th egg and start bringing it together, I'll mention it's also a good time to add our teaspoon of salt. So I got that right here. I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle that in. And then we also use the extra virgin olive oil. I said a tablespoon, obviously this is a little bit more than that, but we just kind of add it as needed. It kind of helps bind it all together. So I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of that in and continue binding. So I added my 4th egg. I've been kind of kneading it here for a couple minutes. As you can see, it's kind of coming together into a little ball. Gonna continue to work it. I am no expert and I've never taken classes on how to do this, but I would recommend kind of standing back a little bit, kind of putting your weight into it, taking your palms and digging it in like that, just to make sure that we get a good, even blend in the dough. Okay, been kneading here for, I don't know, 6-7 minutes. And I got a nice little ball here. This is not gonna be the final product though. It's too big to run through our spaghetti maker. So I usually take just like a palm size, kind of twist it off the dough there. You can see about that big, and just roll that into separate balls. We'll probably end up with, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them. And that'll be the next step. Okay, well, I got my 5 pieces of dough here. The amount that we use, the 2.5 cups of flour with the 4 eggs, usually gives you about 5 balls here. I'd say one, ball about this size, a little bit smaller than a tennis ball, is probably equivalent to 1 portion of pasta. So this should give you about 5 healthy portions in the end. All right, so I flattened out my first ball here, as you can see, and I got my handle. First thing I'm gonna do is put it into the roller portion here. So this thing just really flattens it out when you twist it. If you come around here to the side, I'm gonna show you the knob. So to work the knob, which basically determines how thin the rolling is gonna be, you gotta pull out a little bit and twist. So we always start with it on 0, and before putting it through, we just try to get it kind of as flat as possible. See, you got it nice and flat there. And then, next step, we're gonna put it, typically you try to fit it, the wide way through instead of the long way through to get a nice even ribbon. I'm gonna start feeding that through, turning it clockwise, and don't pull it out. You just kind of want to catch it and let it feed out. It might take a little while to get it through the first portion here. As you can see, I'm losing a piece there. But all we do there is we flip it over one time, get a little bit flatter, and then we're just gonna run it through on 0 one more time. And there you go, you got a nice flat ribbon. Typically, to get the Pete's Perfect pasta, we go from 0 on to 2 to make it a little bit thinner. So I'll feed that through. And then we'll hop up 2 to 4, a little bit thinner. Just as a disclaimer, you want to make sure you're not going more than 2 levels up at once if you're using this particular spaghetti maker. So you wouldn't want to jump from say 2 to 5 or beyond that. So we go from 2, 4, this is 4, as you can see it's getting thinner, on to 6. So pull out, twist it a little bit more to 6, feed it once through in that. Ooh, it's getting a nice ribbon here. As you can see, it's getting kind of long to work with. So we're gonna go ahead, forgot to bring a knife over here, but got one right here. We're gonna go ahead and grab a knife, cut this in half just so we have 2 pieces to work with instead. And then we're gonna twist this on to 8. And 8 is our preferred, at least my wife and I, we really, really love 8. It looks really thin, but it expands as you cook it. So 8 will give you the perfect linguine and spaghetti consistency. So I'm gonna run it through. And I'm gonna go ahead and work the rest of those balls there, but as you can see, nice ribbon. Oh, back, okay. So I got my ribbons here. I didn't go ahead and make all the dough. I only did 2 balls here, just for tutorial purposes. But as you can see, I got nice 4 ribbons here. So the next step is I'm gonna take the handle out of the roller here, and I'm going to put it in the middle slot right here, which is the linguine press. So once that's in there nice and secure, I'm gonna grab a ribbon. Start with this guy, looks really nice. And typically I would recommend 2 people for this. Unfortunately, there's 2 of us here and my wife is helping film this. So she's gonna help to try to catch it with one hand as I feed it through. Get a nice little pace, nice and taut. And there you go, she catches it. Once she catches it, she wants to make sure to get it out of her hand quickly. We kind of try to spread it out, and typically we'll add a little bit of flour, just like that, so that it doesn't stick together. And we'll go ahead and do this for all of our ribbons here. And typically we let it dry for about 10 minutes before going into our boiling water. Forgot to mention that step, but as you can see, prior to cutting the pasta, we went ahead and started boiling our water here. Okay, so we've got our cut linguine here. I only cut 3 of the balls just because my wife and I don't need all the extra pasta tonight. So you can see how much roughly that makes. It will grow a little bit. And then if you come around me, you can see I've got my boiling water here on the stove along with the vodka sauce, the Classico vodka sauce. Also recommend, we got a few add-ins here, not necessary ingredients for the recipe. I like my stuff spicy, so got a little bit of crushed red pepper. Just gonna sprinkle some of that in there. We've got some oregano, some basil, and some Italian seasoning as well. I'm gonna sprinkle some of that in. And then we'll just give that a little stir as we let that start to warm up as well. Then I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna grab my dried linguine. Gonna put it gently into this bowl so it doesn't clump together. And then bring it on over, and then gently drop it into the boiling water. So I just dropped my linguine in here. It's been boiling for a couple minutes. Want to make sure you give it the occasional stir just to make sure it loosens up. Typically we let it boil for 4 or 5 minutes or so. We like ours al dente, meaning slightly underdone, so it's not overcooked and too soft like it'll fall apart. And a fun fact about al dente spaghetti and linguine is that it actually makes you full quicker because it takes longer to digest. So I've had the linguine boiling now for a few minutes. Gonna bring it over to the sink here. Got our strainer sitting in the bottom. Just go ahead and pour that nice and gently in there. Be careful of the steam, it can get really hot. Bring that back over here. Give it a quick shake. I like to add just a sprinkle of salt to that, and this is Pete's personal touch. Just a little dash of olive oil, and give it a quick, you're not supposed to do that, quick mix, and let it sit there. The olive oil we add just so that it doesn't stick together while we're preparing the sauce here. Sauce got a couple more minutes, just heating up. Give it a few more minutes, and then we'll be right back at you with the final step. Gonna go ahead and serve it up. Gotta make sure the presentation looks good, so we got this giant spork here. And when we bring it in, give it a nice little twist, a little more for the full serving. Again, give it a nice twist. Make sure that piece falls nicely on top. And then we're gonna come over here, add a little bit of the vodka sauce. And then final touch, just a little bit of oregano. And some basil to top it off. And there you have it, folks. Pete's perfect pasta.